What's cracking, everybody? XehrFelrose here, bringing you some Pokemon Go Battle League content. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at some of the strongest teams in the Great League that I've seen, both in my own experience and on the training page on PvPoke. If you want to go to the training page, you can just go up here to the training page, go to top performers, pick your league, and you can see some of the top teams in that league based on usage and personal scores. These are some teams that are a mix of both my own and some of the ones off that page. This one actually was the top team on PvPoke, running Medicham, Carbink, and Pelipper. This team, at a glance, it has very good coverage into the overall meta, and you're going to see that it does obviously have some things that it will struggle with, but most of the things that it struggles with, right, you have play against. Medicham in general has play against so much of the meta just by existing. Carbink is a bulky son of a gun with a lot of just consistent damage, I guess, if you want to put it that way. And Pelipper is very flexible, having Hurricane and Weather Ball. There's very few things that you don't really want to deal with here, but one of the things that, you know, you see if like a flyer, for example, you swap into your Pelipper, and if they bring out a Steel, then at least then your Carbink doesn't have to deal with the Steel type, right? So there are some stratagems to this team, but for the most part, it looks to play as a bit more of a balanced team, hoping that you can maneuver through matchups and be able to take advantage of certain advantages of your Pokemon to be able to, you know, catch a move somewhere, or really just try to make the plays where they need to be made. Team looks very consistent, has a lot of play, very flexible movesets on everything except for Carbink, because we know Carbink is it's Carbink. So the only things that really seem to beat this team right off the rip here are going to end up being really just the Superior and Runereeks and Toxapex. Superior is the only thing that I see on this list here that's really actually potentially a problem for you, because it is on some teams, but not on every team, right? Not like it's nearly as common as something like Gligar, Lickitung, or Medicham, but you do have Carbink on this list as well, as it does lose. In the ones, it loses or beats Medicham. Obviously, the rock throws into Pelipper are not that great, but your Pelipper does have the Weather Ball to hit back, and I think Medicham has a lot of play in the twos. If it correctly shields the Moonblast, you're off to the races. And everything else after that, you have play against. So I think this team has a very strong potential in this meta. Very good team of three here. So let's kind of dive into the next one here and look into one of the teams that I'm a little bit more familiar with. It'll be the Deoxys Double Ice team here, okay? So this team functions as an ABB team. You're using the Dugong as a safe swap in a bad or semi-neutral lead. If Deoxys doesn't have to stay in on it, like, right, if it's a Medicham lead, then obviously you got to stay in here. But if it's something more neutral, you know, like if you don't have two strong answers to it in the back, like the whole way that ABB works is in a neutral or bad lead, you swap to your safe swap to lure out their potential only hard counter to your sweeper. That's going to be Sandslash in this case. Deoxys being up front with the really consistent damage and the ability to sling out Thunderbolts and Psycho Boost really helps it cover a lot of things. Dugong with that with the Icy Wind makes it so you can debuff opponents and make it so that Deoxys gets a really hefty farm down so that energy can go places. But I do have Umbreon in here as an alternative to either the Sandslash or the Dugong. I've used it in both ways. I think all the ways that you can run this team, very effective. I really like the Umbreon as a closer if you don't have an alone Sandslash, or if you don't have a double Legacy Dugong, you can use it as a safe swap. But either way, you're essentially looking to lure out a Medicham or a fighter, and Deoxys gets that farm down so Sandslash can sweep. The coverage obviously not going to be as amazing. I feel like that there is a bit of discrepancy as far as like the Sims don't necessarily tell the whole story, right? Like, you know that Deoxys and the Lickitung is a fairly decent matchup. Obviously, the licks add up much quicker than the counters do over the course of an entire battle, but, you know, obviously, you know, it can work that way. And Powder, Snow, and Sandslash, I think, might be the way, with the meta being predominantly full of Lickitung. There we go, I got there. And it's also good into the Dark-type matchups if you've seen opposing Umbreon or something like that as well. Sableye does, I guess, technically beat everything on paper here, but typically if you see a Sableye lead, you're going to dip out, and they're not going to want to stay in the Dugong unless they have another answer to the Deoxys in the back. So potential threats, obviously, you know, this being an ABB team, the coverage isn't going to be as high as if you were to take a balanced team and take all their coverages and mash them together. But the things that this team loses to, all of your Pokemon will have play into it in some degree, right? Like, it's not like Lickitung walls your whole team and solos the whole team, right? And everything after that, you know, Sableye's on there, but we don't see nearly as many G-Fisk. I can't see this last time I've seen Meganium, Escav, Rainy Castform, Victini, Galvantula, Araquanid. Like, these Pokemon, they don't really exist in the Great League meta at the moment. So we run Thunderbolt on the Deoxys as a way to help deal with the Registeels, because obviously the backline doesn't like Registeel too much. And that's going to be this team. I've actually done a video on this team to go back and check out. I'm not not going to, I know I'm not, I know myself well enough to know I'm not going to remember to link it or anything. But you should be able to go back, you know, I think it was the end of last season, I made a team with Dugong and Umbreon, and then I made the Deoxys Double Ice right when I was hitting expert with this team. So go check that out if you want to see some actual video coverage. But let's jump into the next team here as we look at this one. This is going to be Mandibuzz, Clodsire, Medicham. I don't know if somebody created this team, but it was another one that I found on PvPoke that looked very similar to something that I had run, and I'd seen other people run. Mandibuzz Clodsire core is very, very strong. Obviously, not having a great time against Alolan Sandslash, so we put Medicham in the back there to cover that weakness to a slight degree. Obviously, alignment is key in that regards, but Mandibuzz does do decently into the Alolan Sandslash, especially if it's running Shadow Claw. You can get it reasonably low, and then hopefully they're weak in the back to the Clodsire, which in this day and age, honestly, because Clodsire was recently released with its community day, people might still be looking to triple hard counter Clodsire, so your mileage with this team may vary, but Clodsire, when it's good, has the opportunity to really put a number on people's teams, even if they resist the moveset. The bulk on Clodsire just lets it really go wild when it's got shield advantage. Makes a very good closer. So Medicham does technically beat most of the team on paper, but as you know, if it all comes down to context, shields, and etc. So this is a good team to run. I think it's a it's a little bit weak to Charm, obviously. You're not going to have a good time against Charm users. And the things that really kind of break this team apart, like Alolan Ninetales is really about the only thing that I would be really afraid of if I saw it in the lead. And you'd have to stay in with the Mandibuzz and then soft lose and then try and farm down with the Clodsire. It could get messy, but aside from that, you're not going to see too many things that straight beat this team. There's going to be the Medicham, which you could certainly handle neutrally. You know, the matchup into Medicham with Mandibuzz really isn't that bad. And the team has two really strong answers to Steelix. Obviously, you know, Steelix being Steelix. Clodsire needs a while to get to its moves, so getting a farm in the before you see the Steelix is always helpful, but it doesn't always work that way, but Earthquake still warrants some respect. So this team looks really strong in practice. It's going to work out a lot better than us looking at these sims. Really recommend you give it a shot and see how you like it. You could also run something that's not Clodsire as well. You could probably like run Swampert or something if you'd like to, if you wanted to be a little bit more apt against some steel types and a little bit quicker on the draw with your charge moves. But let's check out this next team here. A personal favorite of mine, as you may have seen it before, Skeledirge, Serperior, Dugong. This is the team that I hit Legend with this season. Skeledirge has solidified itself amongst the top of my favorite Pokemon to use in the entire Go Battle League, going as far as to potentially be my channel mascot someday, as the people in my wonderful people in my YouTube comments and my chat and on my streams, which you can check out 3 days a week on Go Battle League, maybe 4, depending on how the new season picks up. The stream schedule will pop up down below me in just a moment here after this next slide. So it's 6 p.m. Eastern, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Wednesday we do variety games, but might do Go Battle League when the new season starts. We'll see. And then Saturday at 1 p.m. Eastern. But anyway, this team functions with Skeledirge being a severe core breaker for a lot of teams, right? Lots of Alolan Ninetales, Alolan Sandslash, Medicham, Deoxys. Lots of things on the lead that just get completely destroyed by the Fire Ghost typing of Skeledirge. And then you do have a core in the back. So this is a balanced team, but it focuses on Skeledirge being a core breaker and then Serperior Dugong core in the back, which means that you have a lot of play when you win the lead. You usually have something that should be able to beat whatever else is in the back because Serperior and Dugong pair very well together. And if you do end up getting a bad lead, you can pivot into Dugong, usually going to draw out that Medicham that was in the back that didn't want to see the Skeledirge, farm that down with Skeledirge, and then Skeledirge's energy really goes places. So on paper, obviously, this team will get core broken. One of the things that definitely comes to mind for me when I think of this team is Lantern. Lantern is probably one of the most painful things for me to deal with for this team. And Carbink's not so great either because, I mean, honestly, it's Carbink. It's better to see it when you draw it out with Dugong. You can farm it down with one of the grass types. But in general, that's just not a good thing. And then Bastiodon on the lead is also pretty painful. But thankfully, we do have the ground type coverage on Dugong to be able to hit back some of those steel types, like Registeel as well. And then as far as your grass type goes, I heavily recommend Serperior. I know that there are some of you out there who don't have one. So if you don't have one, Venusaur, and honestly, I'd say Jumpluff also works as a pretty solid replacement for the Serperior because they have similar coverage and similar move sets. But I would certainly recommend Serperior above all the other Pokemon on that list if I had the option to. So yeah, this is a team I can highly recommend. I hit Legend with it. I still run it to this day. It's very strong. as long as the meta doesn't shift against you and you have like a bunch of Swampert leads and then you just kind of cry. But anyway, let's move on to the final team of the video here, and I'll take a moment to just kind of plug the Metafy is coaching. I know the end of the season is approaching, and by the time you watch this, I will be visiting my family. Love them. For a few days, but I'll be back on Monday, whatever what is the 18th, 19th. It'll be the Monday after you see this, so after the weekend passes, I'll be back. So coaching on Metafy, if you want to check out the description, pin comment, link in there for Metafy for coaching, for lessons, all the stuff I offer, and the pricing. And my Patreon Discord would be good for you. I'd recommend everybody get in on that. Just not because it brings me money, but because it's such a good community, and all the benefits that you get from being in it, honestly, make it super, super worth it, because I have so many things that I give to that Discord that don't even hit YouTube sometimes, or long before they hit YouTube. You know, teams and things to prep for the new schedule when the seasons drop, and many other things. You know, early access to YouTube videos, early access to teams, meta-analysis, all that stuff. These guys got these videos well in advance of me putting them out on YouTube, so I heavily recommend you check it out. But anyway, this team was made. I don't know who made it. I know it wasn't me. I saw it a bunch when I was trying out a couple of teams in Great League a couple weeks ago, and I know that it was like the top team on PV Poke when Zionic did his video on it. So Sableye and Alolan Sandslash and Venusaur. You got Sableye in the lead, cores very well with both of these Pokemon. You're essentially, there's not really like a super safe thing to swap here, but I imagine Venusaur would probably be that one thing. Because Alolan Sandslash, you don't really want to safe swap that, because you just get countered down by a Medicham typically. But typically, this team does very good, you know, very, very strong into Medicham in both the front and the back. Venusaur just absolutely just demolishes things that are in its way. Very, very solid meta coverage here. Not too many things that I can see that really break this team apart. You know, Umbreon is not something that I'm super, super worried about, although it would definitely be good into this team, but then, you know, you got coverage against everything else. And Sableye, being a very good generalist in this meta, is a very, very strong lead, being able to put a lot of advantages, get a lot of energy and swap out, for example. There's a lot of ways that you could play this team. So in some good hands, I do believe this team could definitely take you up to Legend and beyond, or wherever it is you're trying to go to. So but that's going to do it for me for this video, guys. Thank you. I really appreciate you watching. I'm going to be doing a video for Ultra League and Master League as well. Going a little off of my usual schedule as I'm off with my family. Going to drop the Ultra League video tomorrow on Saturday, and then Master League's going to drop on Sunday. And then we're going to have some fun shoutcasts for you next week as I come back in and hopefully be able to get to the news of the new season when it drops. So thank you all very much for watching. We'll catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.